Well, I'll see some of the ones here, so I will answer some of those that I see in the chat.
Sure.
Okay. What is okay? So how does one know the award should go to homeschool? Well, there are various kinds of alternatives. Homeschooling is just one. There are alternative schools, and of course, people should try to find out if there are alternative schools, learner-centered in their approach near where they are. So that would be, for example, not everybody can homeschool their child if they're working. One of the things that homeschoolers do is they set up homeschool resource centers. That is, they will do it as a group. Lately, during the pandemic, they're even making what they're calling pandemic pods, but it's really the same thing: homeschool resource centers, micro schools. And in some cases, they're hiring a teacher to teach their kids in a small group. So this is happening in thousands of places, actually, and very quietly. In some cases, they're starting these things, and they are leaving their kids enrolled in the previous school and not saying anything. And that's okay with the public schools here because they still get state tax money because those children are still technically enrolled. It's a very unusual situation that's happened. So it's quiet. You don't really see it happening in a lot of cases. But anyway, so when do you know? I think if you hear your child and they come home and they say they hate school, well, you know you have to do something different. If they say they're bored and so on, you know you have to do something different. There are some children that thrive because they have an auditory ability. They can sit and listen to someone talk. The majority of children, and many boys in particular, are kinesthetic learners, which means that they're learning by doing things. Well, they don't do that in school that much. And so those are also need this, but so you just have to be listening to your child and observing, and if they love school, fine. If they say they hate it, that means there's something wrong with their school, because children are natural learners. And by the way, that is one of the 10 signs that I have on my website, 10 signs that your child needs an alternative approach to education. So you can look at that and see how many of those things apply to your child. You know, do they come home worn out? Do they come home excited? You know, things like that. So that's the way you might know.
That was very well answered. Yes, sir. That is the one thing that we at Brain Wonders also do. We help the parent and the child understand their innate learning styles so that they can be aligned in that particular manner for their education.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to... Yes,
okay, I'll just take another question.
Yes.
Do the students opting for homeschooling lose out on developing social and emotional skills? That's a really funny question. You know, the homeschoolers call that the S word, socialization. And the interesting thing is, think about most schools. Those children are being socialized to do something they'll never be in that situation again in their lives. They will never be sitting with coworkers or a whole group of people that are exactly their same age in the same room. Never happening. Never happen again to them after they're done with school. So they're being socialized to really communicate with a very narrow and limited group of people. Just those that are their own age. It makes no sense, actually, but that's the way it works. And so homeschoolers have a tendency to take their kids with them everywhere they go. They certainly don't do school sitting around the kitchen table all the time. And so that's actually not a problem. There's been research at the University of Michigan which shows that there's no problem with socialization. Not only that, but if they miss something that they need, as in the story that I told about the boy who wanted to learn algebra, they learn it at lightning speed, unless they've been many, many years in a situation that extinguished their natural ability to learn. So don't worry about if they're losing out or missing anything. Not only that, but the skills that are important in life, most of them are not valued or taught or even recognized in regular schools. You know, empathy, things like that. The ability to find the answers to your own questions. They're not tested on. They don't know how to test for them. So no, don't worry about that. They're not going to miss anything. In fact, it's the kids going to regular schools that are missing something. All right, let's see. Yeah, more stories. People want me to write these stories. I have about 300 of them that I've written down, but I have some of them in the books that I published. You know, as I say, the latest book, you can actually get it from our website, educationrevolution.org, is called School's Over. Anyway, so let's see. If you want to learn and practice democratic schooling, what do you do? Well, the best thing to do is maybe go and intern, at least go and visit some of these schools. And you can also see videos of them. If you go to our website, there are a lot of videos where you can see this in practice. But if you have a chance, if there's something that's an alternative near you, you have to go and you have to spend time. There's really no course you can properly take. I do have a course for people who are starting new schools. And it's limited to 25 people or groups. We're kind of in the middle of it right now. But if you go to the website again and you scroll down on member schools, you'll see one that says start your own school, and you'll see what we cover in that process. And then we also do it individually. So I do a lot of consultations to help people who want to start new alternatives. So but the best thing to go do is to go, if you have one near you or anywhere, is to go visit and become a volunteer or intern there, whatever. What attributes, let's see, should a teacher have to be able to let learners remain natural in their discoveries of the world around? Well, I think the most important thing is the ability to listen, and to not just to words. You have to be observant. You have to see what the students are interested in, not necessarily just listen to what they say. They might not be able to articulate it, and then you'll know what to do. That's the most important thing that you need to be able to do, and not a lot of people can do it. Some people think that they have all the answers. You know, there's an 8-year-old who grew up in my house, and her family moved away this year, but her parents were helping me. And her parents are Nepalese, and I literally took her home from the hospital. Now what she does is she actually calls me every single day, and we do stuff, and basically the ideas are all hers, what we're going to do. And she's taught herself how to do many things. So we're continuing sort of to homeschool in that way. But I'll tell you something funny. So she'll say something and it'll remind me of something I know that I think she should know. And I'll start talking about it. Sometimes she just turns off the computer. So the most important thing is to listen and help them find the things that they want to know. Okay, so let's see. Who should decide the format of learning, the child or the parents? Well, the child. You know, I think that's actually, that doesn't mean that the parents can't offer ideas of things that the child should be interested in, or the teacher. Sure, it's fine. You can offer things. You can offer choices. You can say, hey, we could do this, this, or this. Or even, would you like to go here today? You know, that's fine. It's not just sit there like a stone. It's an interactive process, but it has to be one of mutual respect. Okay, so let's see. What are the practical methods of making children and identify their field of interest? Yeah, well, remember, one of the techniques that I use sometimes is the question class, which is what I talked about. And I sometimes call it organic curriculum, where you just have, in a very short period of time, have the student or students brainstorm things that they would like to know the answer to. And sometimes that one thing will lead to the next and the next and the next. Let's see what else we have here. Share contact details. Well, you can write to me from the website, educationrevolution.org. Do you have any other questions?
The participants can unmute also in case. Okay, we have another one.
So let's see. I want learner-centered schools are available for a lot more people and state funded. Wow, that's interesting. I want every kid to have the opportunity. Sadly, the limited curriculum that the country set up do not allow this in most countries. Absolutely true. All right. Well, there are examples of public alternative schools. And if you remember, I told you about my friend Olga. She had set up a park school in the middle of a big public school. And that public school itself is called the School of Self-Determination. And the students have the constitutional right to leave any class they want without explanation. And so I've seen it happen there. And so there are public schools, even in places you might not expect, like Russia, that do this. And there are many in the United States. And there are others in other parts of the world. So it's a matter of the will of the administrators. There are always ways to try to fulfill the curriculum in ways that can still meet those standards, but that can be learner-centered. You have to be innovative. And of course, there's one country that has over 25, in some cases quite large, public democratic schools. And when I say democratic, that's a subset of learner-centered schools. These are schools in which the students actually have a vote on everything that happens in the school. And I ran a school like that myself. I was the director of a school, and I had just one vote. And so in Israel, there are over 25 democratic public schools. And you can see some listed on our site. But one of the key ones, the first ones, started by Yaakov Hecht, is the Democratic School of Hadera. And everybody in Israel knows what a democratic school is. And it literally works in the same way as we've been describing. But that's the only country that I know that has actually implemented this on a large scale. But there's no reason why people can't become enlightened in this. There's a little conference coming up soon. We have a free e-newsletter that anybody could sign up for. It's on almost every page of my site, educationrevolution.org. And on it, you'll see upcoming conferences. And there's one that's been organized by one of our members in Canada. And he lives in the city of Ottawa, the capital. And he's trying to introduce the people in the local school system to this concept. And many of them are involved in this upcoming conference that is starting, I think, within a week or so. So we would like to see this idea spreading, and I agree with you, we would like to see it so that every child could have it. Now, what we do in my course, when people discover that it's very difficult to actually have a public school or charter school become truly learner-centered, some of them are in that direction, we suggest that people have a sliding scale tuition, meaning that each family pays what they can afford. And there's a school, for example, called Brooklyn Free School in Brooklyn, where most of the kids are minority, but it's a private school and is a democratic school. And it uses this sliding scale tuition, and we helped to start that school. So that another thing is to become adept at fundraising or find other sources of income. For example, there's a school called Albany Free School, and it's been going for 50 years. And what they did in the early part of this school is they bought up row houses in inner city Albany. They learned how to do the rehabbing of them, and they would rent them out, and they still are doing this. And the rent money covers most of the cost of the school. And so they have a wide variety of children in that school from a wide variety of income backgrounds and racial backgrounds. So that is another way that this can be done. And at my school, most of the kids were low income, and so we were constantly fundraising. And it was fine because the children learn a lot by that process too. All right, so let's see. What are the most important aspects that teachers should consider in the distance learning? Well, of course, we've already been discussing this. But as I said, the most important things are to try to help those students build on their own interest. And I think that you go from there. And again, that's not necessarily it's not easy to do if you're a public teacher, but there are ways you can be creative about it.